Are we? Now we are.
Welcome to another Full Access Friday. Appreciate y'all being with me. I wanted to talk about something in regards to Full Access Friday. Obviously, we have a group of dedicated patriots that come and join me each Friday night, and I appreciate each and every one of you always, of course. But I would like to see if we could expand it a little bit. So I want to ask everybody now that we are actually recording this right now, if I move Full Access Friday to another night of the week, would you be more inclined to join or less inclined to join, or not inclined at all to join because you're just shy and you don't, for whatever reason, want to be on camera? However, I want to kind of find that out because I want to grow the Full Access Friday, and whether it's on Friday night or at a different time on Friday night or another day during the week. Typically on Monday night, of course, I drop the Jeff Carrera show. So putting that into perspective, what if we went to, let's say, Tuesday night instead of Friday night? Or what if we went to Wednesday night, hump day, right in the middle of the week? Or the only other choice would be Thursday night. I mean, I guess you could do a Sunday night, but I'm not really sure how that would work. So we've been doing it on Friday nights, right, for quite some time, even before the Full Access show when I was doing the live stream with all the crazy sound issues that we got rid of finally. But let me know. I'm thinking if not Friday night, then I'm thinking for my own personal schedule, Thursday night would work good. I was trying to put up a new poll on the website about this, and I'll still keep trying, but apparently the plugin got updated, and I can't figure out now how to put up a new poll. So I'll keep working on that. But let me know, would a Tuesday night show live be better? A Wednesday night show live be better? A Thursday night show live be better, or should we just keep it Friday night? So put that in the comments at
Doesn't
the
it?
end of this video so that we can
Okay.
kind of figure out and discuss it. But the other thing I want to discuss is some of the information that's coming out. We saw the train wreck of Brett Baer's interview with her. I'm glad that he actually did something where he challenged her, right, for once. It wasn't as tough as I would have wanted, but at least it was tougher than we thought he was going to be. I mean, I literally sent him a question on X saying that he ought to find out exactly how she shaves her, you know what, so that he can figure out how to shave his. I actually sent that to him. And then, of course, I got blocked because of that. But anyway, that's what I thought the type of questions were going to be. What's your favorite color? What's the last thing you cooked in your kitchen? You know, just stupid stuff. But he actually did pretty good, I would say, as good as he could do. He didn't really challenge her to the point where he kept calling her Madam Vice President, and then he kept saying, you know, I'm sorry for interrupting you, you know, continue on, while he allowed her to bloviate and lie. So I thought that was a little bit off too. But
The other ones interrupted him.
yeah, exactly. So, but I wanted to talk about a couple different things. So there's an article, and the title says "Landslide Coming." Now, again, with all the voter fraud, with what we're hearing coming out, you know, from Detroit, how they're once again trying to figure out ways to intimidate Republican poll challengers. There's a big story about that. But there was a poll by a Democrat group that literally was plus 25. It was an Ipsos poll, plus 25 Democrats, plus 25. And it still turned out to be her leading by zero point 0.2 percentage points. Mind you, at plus 25. Normally they do plus 5, plus 6, plus 7, plus 4. Every now and then you might see an 8 or 9, but you never see a plus 25. So in a plus 25, they show her barely winning. And the Michigan sub poll, when you look at the crosstabs, 21% of Michigan Democrats are voting for Trump. And Trump leads among independents by 56 points. Now, if all of this is real and all of this is true, it's going to be a very good night. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but we're definitely seeing some of the blue wall starting to crack and crumble down pretty hard. And Gosh, I hope so. I hope that continues. You know, it was interesting. She starts yelling and screaming today in Michigan. She's losing it. She knows she's losing it, right? So she starts screaming today. And I know we don't want to hear her voice, but here's what she said.
Should never again have the privilege of standing behind the seal of the President of the United States. Never again. Never again. Never again.
Ooh.
So anyway, that's the cackling whore. And it kind of reminds me of this cackling whore right here.
Is apparently somewhat puzzled last night during a video conference
Hang on.
call with a labor union.
Hang on. Whoops. Hit the wrong button. Here it is.
Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody.
So it's interesting that they're both cackling and screaming and yelling when they're getting their asses handed to them. And so I thought that that was interesting that she's literally losing it. You had Bill Clinton in the corner of a gym that literally was the size of like maybe a 50 by 50 foot area. Like that's how small it was, in the corner of a gym in Georgia, I think it was. And now there are buses filling, you know, one right after another. Not like one or two buses, like 9, 10, 11 buses. There's things online that show the bus schedule and how to get there. I mean, it's so fabricated. It is so fabricated, her quote unquote support. So I don't know. Things are definitely not looking good for her. I don't want to get overconfident and things like that, but it definitely seems that way. So let's go around and let's talk about this a little bit. So we know that the polls are wrong. We know that whatever poll you see, you can add 5 percentage points on top of that for President Trump. But when they're doing things like this, I mean, you could add probably 10 points because it clearly shows that she is cratering. So, oh, there you are, Glenn. You were number one. So let's we'll talk about that, and then later on we'll do another round and we'll talk about the college scam that I know you want to talk about. But what are your thoughts here? You're in the Midwest. You're in Indiana. I know that you've got, you know, a great Secretary of State that wants to make sure that only, you know, legal citizens vote. You know, you sent me the email, so I understand where you're coming from. What are your thoughts here? Is this race as close as the media is saying, or is Trump running away with it? Oh, you're muted, Glenn. Glenn, you're muted.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
I don't think it's as close as what the media is saying. I think Trump's way out in front. There was just a lot of people that, you know, just the videos that you see on social media and all the people that are going against that woman, and it's her own kind. So
Yeah.
all the way from the Indians to the people in the black neighborhoods and everything. So
Yep.
that's a good sign if you ask me.
Oh, it's an excellent sign. And there was a story out of Michigan that was really, really interesting. Basically, what they said, if I can try to find it here while we're talking, but it basically said that there was an Operation Defeat Biden that Michigan Muslims came up with when he was, of course, the nominee. But they have switched that to now defeating Harris. And I'll try to find it here in here it is right here. I found it. So it says Michigan Muslims, this is from the Daily Caller, are banding together to deny Harris the White House. If 75%, they did the calculations on the math, if 75% of the roughly 200,000 Muslim Americans who live in Michigan cast their vote on November 5th for President Trump, Kamala Harris will be virtually guaranteed to lose the state and its critical 15 electoral votes. That's what one activist group in the state, Drive for 75, believes. And to achieve it, Rex Nazarko and his organization are barnstorming mosques, hosting voter promotion sermons, and knocking on thousands upon thousands of doors across the state. What was a guarantee for a Harris loss to happen. We tried very different percentages to see different turnouts, and we came up with the 75% number, again, accounting only for the Muslim community, not other communities, nor other allies, nor other progressives. It essentially guarantees a 99.9% likelihood of the vice president losing the election in Michigan if 75% of the community turns out and votes for President Trump. We ran that simulation close to 10,000 times, and almost every time that was indeed the case. So that's how we became to call it the Drive for 75 action idea, he explained. So that's interesting. You've had Muslims, prominent Muslims in like Hamtramck, which is a very predominantly Muslim town. It used to be all Polish. Now it's pretty much all Muslim. And I think the mayor of that town actually endorsed President Trump. So he was one of the first people. Now you have these groups that hate her. They are using it for a reason, though. They're trying to punish her because of the Palestinian situation and all of that. So it's not like they love Trump. As a matter of fact, they're pushing to have people vote for third party, for Stein or Trump. They said Stein or Trump, either one. So I don't know. I think there's a lot that's going on here. But Gail, let's run this one by you. So do you think these polls are as close as they're trying to make them? Or do you think that President Trump is out ahead pretty good?
I think he's out ahead quite a bit. I worry that they probably use those close things to justify any kind of cheating that works. I'm worried about Arizona because our like Carrie Lake, that Gallegos is, he's lying about her.
Yeah.
And then our legislature, I hope we don't go blue in other offices because it worries me.
Yeah, no, it worries me too. Like I said, I spoke with somebody from the campaign, who I can't name, but the internals show 2.8% down to him right now. But he's basically losing 12 counties out of 15. He's only ahead in 3 counties, and Maricopa is close. Pima, he's winning quite handedly. Coconino, he's winning by like 15, 16 points, but Maricopa's within 6. And remember, she's winning every single other county in the entire state, and by huge margins. But again, the population centers are in where? They're in Maricopa County, they're in Pima County, Yavapai County, but
and that Prop
obviously
140,
Yavapai's not an issue. What's
that
that?
140, I hope people don't fall for that one. 140.
Yeah, there's definitely some things out there that as we get a little bit closer, I'm probably going to have to do a show on, at least for Arizona, for sure, as far as the ballot initiatives and stuff like that, because there is some dangerous stuff. There's ranked choice voting out there. There's the abortion thing. And, the left, they do this all the time. They try to drum up as much support and to get these single women, one-issue voters to come out to the polls. But I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens. I mean, with what happened in Yavapai County on the first day of early voting was pretty substantial. I mean, they went around to ask anybody if they were voting for Harris. They asked like 25, 30 people. Not one said they were voting for Harris. And they all said that they're voting early. And they're voting early because President Trump has told them to. So the Trump campaign has done a very good job. You've probably seen the Alina Habba ad, right? The little skip ad that's all over the place, saying to go out and vote early and stuff like that. Let's piss off some libs, I think she says. And so definitely there's a theme here of getting out early. The first day in one of the counties, I think it was Cherokee County, which was a Trump county by a major amount, like 60-30, something like that, broke records on the first day of early voting. So there's definitely, some good enthusiasm, and there's some good signs, at least at this point.
I know.
Pam, let's ask
Yeah,
you.
my places, I can't find any place that is open for early voting. It's like they're all going to open on election day in Yavapai. At least
there should be quite a few of them that are open.
I gotta find them.
Yeah, you gotta find them because they're there. Because I don't want you to vote on election day, and I'm telling everybody
I don't either.
That,
I
maybe
don't.
Glenn, because he's in Indiana and probably doesn't have anything to worry about. But for the most part, I would not vote on election day because of shenanigans. I mean, I lived through it. I saw what they did. I saw how they shut down 60% of these machines. We can't be stuck on election day with the ability not to vote. I'm sorry, we just can't. We can't.
Well, I just
risk
bring
it.
in my mail in to the polling place.
Yeah, yeah. So Pam, let me ask you,
Right now.
do you feel as though at this point these polls are wrong, number one, and that President Trump is doing much better than they're saying he is?
I think the polls are pretty close to right, at least because in 2016, all the polls showed Hillary ahead, and Hillary won. Or I mean, Trump won that time. And so over the last 8 years, all the general media has done nothing but lie, to the point where CNN and these, networks, they've totally lost their credibility. And so now they have to be a little more honest about these polls, because they've been so wrong. So I think the poll's pretty accurate, and it's good news. But um, the people who are Democrats, they hate Trump, they're against him. That is what they run on. Dave Min says, if you want to put an end to the mega extremists, then vote for me. So it's just going to be a fight. Everybody's going to be against him. It's not going to be easy, even if he wins.
Well, here's the thing. As I've said before, with Hillary Clinton, they were showing her winning election day. They were showing her the day before, the week before, big margins. I mean, we're talking by 7 points in Michigan, 8 points, in Pennsylvania. They said she was winning even in Ohio by 2 or 3 points. She was up 4 in Florida. And we just said, you know what? We're just going to ignore the polls, and we're going to go out and we're going to vote. And he crushed her. I mean, let's face it. He did. He killed her pretty good. And now the polls are actually not even showing the lead for her at all. Really, they're showing it neck and neck, or him up a little bit or whatever. So they're not even showing what they kind of know could be coming. Do you know what I mean? And so if you look at where Hillary was at this point as opposed to where she is, it's night and day. He's way, way ahead as far as even the polling is concerned. So I don't think the polls are accurate. I actually disagree with you on that. I think they're very inaccurate on purpose. And one of the reasons, and I'm sure Walter and others will probably agree with me, is that if they do try to figure out a way to either switch the machines or put in some type of program that defaults a 2-to-1 ratio, they can say, well, the polls showed that it was a close race, so that they could try to steal it. But I just feel like there's no pandemic to hide behind now. There's no lockdowns. There's no secretaries of states changing laws and rules in the middle of the game because of a lockdown or because of a pandemic. And again, the RNC has been very, very proactive. 126 lawsuits and 82 of them in the swing states alone. I mean, that's pretty good as far as being proactive and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Bob, what about you? Let's ask you, do you think that these polls are close, or do you think President Trump is winning considerably?
I think the polls are a joke. I mean, she's out here in California with her ads running. She's trying to vie for a position, I think, with CNN when everything's over, so she could have a job as a commentator. But I don't pay attention to the polls out here. Nobody should. I agree with you, though, Josh, what you're saying. They're using it as like a cover up, or like, well, see, we did tell you that it was 2%. They're just don't listen to it. It's just a bunch of hooey,
Exactly.
I think it's way ahead.
And again, the suppression polls are there to help with theft. Let's understand that, right? They can say that it was a close race, so that if they decide to do some shenanigans or steal it, then they can verify or they can validate the fact that it was a quote, close race when it wasn't. And so I think that's important. That's why when Rasmussen comes out and, Atlas and the Trafalgar group, those three in particular, when they come out and they go, sorry, but these guys are all fake, here's what the real numbers are, that's when it kind of blows that cover, so to speak. But again, the suppression polls are for two reasons. Number one, to try to disengage Republican voters from coming out and voting for Trump, but more importantly, to hide behind potential theft. At least that's what I think, in my opinion here. Carl, what about you? Do you think these polls are close, or do you think President Trump is winning considerably?
You're muted, buddy.
I think,
Good.
I think Trump's ahead, and I don't believe it. I don't believe the polls unless the pollsters are reputable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. What about you, Carol? What are your thoughts here on this? Do you think that things are close, or do you think President Trump is clearly ahead and they're just not showing you?
I think he's absolutely clearly ahead. I'm wondering if a lot of people are just not going to vote. I think there's people that don't really like him, but I mean, Kamala's she's like a PMS crazy woman, I mean, I'm just wondering if a lot of people are going to be no-shows. And as far as polls are concerned, they've always been a mystery to me because I've never been polled ever in my life. Has anybody here been polled? I hear about these polls. I've never took a poll ever. I mean, I've took yours on your website, but these polls that everybody talks about on the news, nobody's ever polled me my whole life. So what are polls?
I can't remember a time I've been polled myself either. Not in a political poll.
Right.
Other things maybe, but not, not like for a presidential race. I've never had it happen. Has anyone else?
I've been
Gail, I think
getting them like crazy.
Twice?
It was five times. I don't know what, I don't recognize the companies though. They're not Rasmussen or anybody.
Okay,
No,
Not any big ones.
gotcha.
The only ones that I get is from like merchandise for Trump, or they want
No.
Right.
donations and stuff, take the poll, and then you click on it and then it goes to, oh, here, buy this and send us some more money.
Gotcha.
No,
What
I
about you,
haven't.
Walter? What are your thoughts here? Is this a close race, or are they suppressing the polls to cheat, or is President Trump handedly winning?
I think President Trump is handily winning. I think that they have given up on actually winning the election. I think that they are now diverting time, money, and assets to whatever their plan is for between November 5th and whenever the inauguration is. They've already enacted, so I don't know if it's an executive order or what exactly the mechanism is, but where they're authorizing the military to use lethal force against American citizens. So that's clearly going to play some role in it. I'm not sure exactly what, but I disagree with Carol. I think that people are fired up. People are going to vote. I think even people that hate Trump's personality, that they have come to the realization that the guy's a jerk. I hate him, but I had a much, much better 4 years when he was in charge. So I'm going to have to hold my nose. And for once, a Democrat's going to have to hold their nose and vote.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. I think that that's what we're seeing here. I've noticed, for instance, just on television, and again, swing state, right? I'm noticing bombardment of anti-Kamala ads and very few Kamala, pro ads or whatever attacking President Trump. It was that way in September. Clearly, there was a lot, probably even, I would say. But I've noticed in the last probably 10 days, she's disappeared. So you're right. It could be that they're saving their money for something else. Maybe they're trying to fortify Michigan. I don't know. I'm not in those states. But I can tell you from here, I'm not seeing the ads like I was in September and August, especially August. My God, August was like a nightmare. Every single 2 seconds was a pro Kamala ad, but not seeing it anymore. Not seeing it anymore. The only thing I'm seeing is I'm seeing some ads against Carrie Lake, or ads that Carrie Lake is running against Gallego. I am seeing more of the Senate stuff, but I'm not seeing, even on NFL football. I mean, I was watching Cardinals game and I still was not seeing, I was only seeing, the transgender surgery ads that Trump was running. And, I wasn't watching the whole thing and I didn't see any of the other stuff. So that's a good sign. That means in some respects that you're right. They might have just given up. They realized that this is going to be similar to a repeat of 2016's election. At least, you know,
Lake's got to get
that's
out
what
there with
that's
an
what we
ad.
hope.
She's got
What's
to get
that?
out there with a big ad on.
She's what?
Carrie Lake has got to get more aggressive ads against
She
Gallego.
does, and you know what? Like I said, they just released the divorce records. This is the first batch. Apparently, they're still fighting in court to keep the other stuff that's really, really bad out.
You can
And
go to
so
his
they're
voting
still
record.
working. Huh?
Get his voting record out there.
Well, it's not even that. It's just how abusive he is, how he hit her, how he beat
Yeah.
her, how
Yeah.
he might have assaulted a former aide and touched
Wow.
her in appropriate ways. I mean, all of this stuff is part of the accusations that Kate Gallego put against Ruben in their own divorce proceedings. So it's interesting that they both wanted to try to, I guess, for political reasons. They didn't give a shit about their kid. It was never about their kid. And by the way, as I said yesterday, their kid's always going to be protected. Anyone under 18 is going to be blacked out no matter what. Okay. Just the way the law is. So this whole bullshit about, protect our kids. No one was going to know your kid's name anyway. That's number one. And number two, these were the accusations that Kate said against him in their divorce. And they both collectively decided to seal those records because of their political aspirations. Well, Carrie Lake and her attorney said, I don't think so. And they went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, sorry, this is a public interest. This is someone that, you know, needs to have good character if they're going to represent the Senate in Arizona. And therefore that information is going to come out. So the first batch has come out, and even the first batch is pretty bad. She's already running ads based on the first batch. So like I said,
Not up here.
if her internals are 2.8 percentage points behind him in her own internal polls, I would say in a week it's going to be even. And I would say after that, she's going to be winning. And especially if these divorce proceeding things start coming out and she starts hammering, and I mean hammering the airways with it, she'll win by 4 or 5 points in Arizona.
Well, maybe she doesn't go up here in Yavapai because we're kind of late people up
It
here.
could be, and the fact that Yavapai, she's got, you know, she's winning the county handedly, probably
Yeah.
20 points, if not more than that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty red area, pretty red county. The thing you got to worry about is Maricopa and Pima. Those are the two. Coconino's kind of so small up there in Flagstaff that there's not that many people. There's a decent amount, but all around the NAU is all red. All those areas around, you know, Munns Peak and all the rest of them, it's all red
Jeez.
out there. It's all red out there. And then, of course, even where you're at, Prescott Valley, for the most part, is pretty red. Jerome is a little weird because of the California artists that kind of moved in.
Yeah.
But Sedona, obviously, we know is much more liberal, unfortunately,
Yeah.
rock country and stuff like that. But I think overall in that area of Yavapai, you're going to have a lot more red than you would blue. So,
Oh, yeah.
okay, well, good. So we kind of went through that. Now, Glenn, you said that you wanted to kind of discuss a little bit further the college scam. And so I'll let you start on that one, and then I'll go in reverse so we can get Walter in next after you. But I kind of agree with Charlie Kirk. I mean, I'm not denigrating people's desire for higher education. That's not what I'm saying here. But it's been proven that these people in these colleges, they are left-leaning, they are Marxist, they hate the Constitution, they see it as a speed bump, and they teach their students ways to get around it. They radicalize these college students, a lot of these Marxist professors. So why subject your child to that when you could have them pick a skill, go and learn that skill, perfect that skill, get a job using that skill, and then have zero debt afterwards? I don't know. Sounds like makes more sense to me. What are your thoughts there, Glenn?
Well, that's what I tell a lot of the younger guys that are moving up or wanting to do stuff is to go to a trade school.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of them. Even there was a guy that was a Vietnam vet, and I worked with him. He was getting close to retirement age, and at Brick Lane you can retire at 55 and draw your pension. Well, he went back to college and learned to be a electrical engineer. And he was already hired as an electrical engineer before he retired being a bricklayer. So he went from one and then drawing the full pension and then going straight into being an electrical engineer. And then after that, he never got his hands dirty. He just done blueprinting
Right.
and stuff
And he
like
did
that.
well, right?
Yeah. And then,
And he didn't have any debt.
correct. And they pay
Yeah.
you to learn that. The only thing, well, because he had the GI Bill, he could go to college for free and
Okay.
learn that. So, and then it's relatively fast to get through that. It's not like you need a 4 or 8 year degree to become a electrical engineer. And
Gotcha.
you know, if you get into the IBEW, I know everybody doesn't like the unions. I'm one of them. But if you get into their hall as an apprentice, I believe it's 5 year apprenticeship now, and you're paid from day one. It's not full scale pay, but you know, you're getting paid to learn that trade. And then they give, you know, they just keep moving you up as you go along, and then soon
Right.
enough, you know, you're making $100,000 a year.
Gotcha. Okay. What about you, Walter? What are your thoughts here? Do you think that Charlie Kirk is right? Do you think that college is an overall scam where you get a degree in something that's really probably not going to make you a lot of money, and then you have all that debt after the fact once you've graduated? What are your thoughts?
I think that it is worth a college degree today is worth a lot less than it was. Wow. Way back when I graduated from college, because the learning and the work ethic has been severely declined purposefully by all the communist professors and administrators in the universities. So I agree with Charlie Kirk to some degree that yes, it's kind of a scam, because now when you're an employer and you're looking at resumes, and for instance, if you have to look at one person who's worked 2 years in a different field but something similar, and you look at the resume of a person who has a college degree, 100% of the time I'm going with the person who's been working in the field.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people that are hiring people are starting to take that same approach, because would you rather have real world experience or book smarts? I mean, personally, I'd rather have the real world experience, right? And so I think if you hire people that have real world experience, number one, you're going to be able to relate to them more. If you just have someone that's just educated from the books but doesn't have any common sense when they apply their skill, I think that that's going to be a detriment, you know? So I see it that way, you know? But I don't know. I guess a lot of people have different views on it. What about you, Carol? What are your thoughts? Do you think that Charlie Kirk is correct, that college is indeed a scam these days, that it's really not needed to make a good living?
Yeah, I kind of agree with him. And it's my brother kind of said that recently. He said, like, unless you just are always wanted to be a registered nurse or just something particular, you know, you can just make, there's guys younger than me starting their own HVAC businesses around here. They're making huge money.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I put in the comments, I mean, my husband, he has no degree. He went to juvenile hall in high school, got his GED there. And there he does dirt work. He's good, got his own business. He makes a ton of money. So if you know how to work, you can make a lot of money. So it's not really necessary, especially if you send your kid in there. And what I'm saying is kids are going off to college and all of a sudden they're getting enlightened. And now they're the smartest people. They're the smartest liberals that you've ever seen. They know so much more than you. They go and they get enlightened big time, and then they're ruined.
And they're groomed. Exactly. They're groomed to become future Marxists. And that's the problem. And that's why, you know, my kid, if he doesn't want to go to school, God bless him. I hope he doesn't. If he wants to go to a music school, something, you know, trade related, okay, that's fine. But for him to go out and get a liberal arts degree or something like that and get indoctrinated even worse than he already is, I don't want that. I don't want that for my kid at all. So we'll see what happens. Pam, what about you? What are your thoughts here? Do you think that it's a college scam, or do you think that you know, there's some merit still for having a college degree.
Well, everybody made really good points. There's a big difference between the liberal arts degree and then an engineering, accounting. You know, you can't be a doctor or a lawyer without a degree. So, but we should talk about Christian colleges too, because I did not send mine. I have a son and 2 daughters. My son went to UC Riverside, and then both my daughters graduated from UC Berkeley. And I'm glad. I'm thankful they all went. They all got something out of it, or found a teacher that was, you know, without making this a long story, that really touched them, or they learned something from. So there is something about, you know, just the whole experience. But Christian colleges, I didn't want them to go to a Christian college because it seemed to me there's 2 of them. One of them, they're just as bad as the liberal colleges, and they just pretend to be Christian. And then the other one is, you better think, act, speak, just like we say as Christians, or you're going to be corrected. And so I didn't really want that either. So anyway, that's my
So kind of
opinion.
like a fine line between the two, basically.
No, like Chapman is supposed to be at Christian college, but I think it's liberal eggheads. I mean, the people are crazy, I think, that some of those teachers. So, and then, but then some Christian colleges, like I say, you have to write an essay. I spoke to a woman who went to one, and she was told she would write an essay, and the teacher would give it back, and he said, well, you need to say this, 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 and this. And it was all it must have been the Christian jargon. And I mean, that's so frustrating. And she's just not that type of person. So she wrote the essay and she got her A, but she dropped out at the end of the year. It just wasn't for her. So
Well, they
I
say
shouldn't.
like 40-something%, 41 to 42% of all college entries don't actually finish, don't actually graduate.
Well,
It's close
she
to 50%.
transferred. I mean, she ended up getting a PhD, but anyway, so and I shouldn't put Christian colleges down because I don't know about the really good ones. And there's a lot of wonderful. I mean, she went to Rice University. She went to Juilliard. She's a musician. So there's a lot of good colleges, and then So anyway, yeah.
Okay. Bob, what about you? What are your thoughts here? I mean, college, obviously, if you're going to be a doctor or brain surgeon or something like that, yeah, you need to have schooling. You got to have a master's. You got to have a doctorate degree, of course. You know, there are those exceptions. But for the majority of people to just go out and go to college to get a 4-year degree in liberal arts or whatever, I don't think it's really that advantageous, not to mention the fact of how much debt you're going to more than normally have after you graduate. What are your thoughts?
You know, we have a grandson who just graduated high school, and he's in his first year in UCLA. I shudder to think of what it cost. My daughter told me, "You don't want to know, Dad." And he wants to go in. He was going into political science. Like, we need another one of those for a 4-year degree at UCLA, which is going to cost Lord knows how much. You know, I'm a big advocate for the trade schools because, you know, as this country is going to have to do a lot of, work, a lot of road work, a lot of bridge work, a lot of everything to, to rebuild it. You're going to need tradespeople, and they make a lot of money.
Exactly.
And they get the right training. They got great pensions. And the thing is, while they're learning, they're getting paid. They're not including interest on a loan that's going to take them 20 years to pay off. So, I mean, college is okay if you want to spend the time, but I think you're better off going to trade school and getting a job, getting involved in an apprenticeship, make some money, and begin life.
The only negative that I could think of as far as the trade school route, if you will, is exactly what Glenn was referring to, and that is the unions get involved. So in other words, you can have someone that goes to a trade school, maybe they want to become, I don't know, I'll just throw something out there, a motorcycle repair specialist, whatever. They go to the school for that, they learn that skill, but then all of a sudden, as they grow in that industry, well, now it turns out that there's, a union that handles these types of repair specialists and things like that. And that's where the left kind of creeps in. But the left is already creeping in because the left supports all these Ivy League schools and all these liberal art colleges and things like that. But I do agree from a political standpoint that if there's more Americans that are skilled in certain trades and they went to school specifically for those trades, that means that those people are going to be hardworking. They're going to be workers. They're not going to be complainers. They're going to do things that others won't do. And more importantly, they're going to get more satisfaction from their jobs and from their work, right? And so naturally, they're going to be more conservative because they're building things, because they're making things, rather than people lecturing, which are typically the liberals. So I look at it from that standpoint as well. Glenn, you have your hand up, but hang on one second. Gail, I didn't get to you on this one. What are your thoughts here? Is the college, like Charlie says, a scam, or do you feel as though, it's still warranted today?
I think it's, well, over the years, it's become more of a scam, but what bothers me, even in medical schools and things, that mindset, that left-wing mindset is creeping in. And that's very, very upsetting. And the teachers' colleges are really, I think, a cesspool of turning out little, people that will indoctrinate your kids. So
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. It's better
I know it's kind
self-educate.
of scary. It's kind of
Yeah.
scary because, like, for instance, I remember being a kid and it was like, oh, you got to go to college. You got to get that 4-year degree. If you just have a high school diploma, you're nothing. You're not going to go anywhere in life. You
No,
got to get
that's not
that
true.
4-year degree. But in reality, I don't think that's the case. Glenn, you have your hand up. What's up?
Well, you need to talk to Carl first. I don't think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Carl, what are your thoughts on this one? I missed you, buddy. You say so much, sometimes I forget. So, go ahead.
Okay. Are you ready for me now?
I'm ready for you.
Okay.
Man of many words. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, well, I went to Ivy Tech. It's a trade school.
Okay.
I went into electronics because that's what my dad did, and he's electrical engineer from Purdue, and he got a 4-year degree at Purdue. So I learned a lot of stuff from him, and then I learned more going to the Ivy Tech. So I have an associate's degree in electronics technology. So that,
Okay.
and I worked for a company in Indianapolis, did a lot of electronics, did a lot of assembly work, wiring and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned all kinds of stuff. Then I got into computers.
Yeah, but the thing is that you learned a skill. You didn't just,
Yeah.
go and learn about, ancient, lesbian,
know.
history and,
Yeah, we learned
whatever,
that
and
shit.
synchronized swimming championships from, the Byzantine Empire, whatever the hell it might be. Or as Scott says here in the chat, Charlie Kirk is referring to kids having to pay for a class that they're forced to take and pay for and won't do them any goods. So kind of like their diversity, equity, and inclusion bullshit classes 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I feel like kids should be able, when they go to these 4-year schools, they ought to be able to just, and I know that they can choose certain electives and they can choose certain courses and things like that, but they ought to be able to opt out on a lot of this crap. I'm sorry, almost all of it. There's no reason that you should have to study something that you have literally, no inkling for, you don't want to know anything about. Why should you do that? And that's why some of these trade schools, in my opinion, are the better way to go, because A, they're cheaper, B, you're not going to have the debt once you're out, and C, not only will you learn the skill, but you can apply the skill right away. You can get a job doing it. You might even be able to get the job, learn it on the job training, and then do the schooling too, and they'll pay for it. So there's a lot more advantages I see. Also, the fact that you're not being indoctrinated in left-wing Marxist ideology all day long either. And so I think there's a lot more benefits to it than negatives. So, but
Yeah, I got
in any
another
event,
comment. I got a comment on what we talked about previously. You were saying something about you haven't seen a lot of ads for. I wonder if they're going to wait till like maybe a week or maybe several days before the election, and then they're going to bombard everybody with those ads.
I mean, they could, obviously. I'm not going to say that they wouldn't because they just raised $1 billion. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of bullshit that can be spewed in, in a 2.5 week, 3 week period. But I'm not sure because it seems as though a lot of these people understand that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, it's not working. The people see, the thing is that she has an inauthenticity about her that
Yeah.
most voters have recognized. They know
She's an
she's not
airhead.
real. She's not the type of person that you would want to sit and have a beer with and talk to about pretty much anything. And the men can't stand her because number one, she's a whore. But
She's
number
an airhead
two,
too.
because the minute she opens her mouth, it's like nails on a chalkboard. And I'm sure many men are going, oh my God, that sounds like an ex-girlfriend that I ran away from or whatever. You know what I mean? So she has a major problem with men and all men, especially Muslim men. Muslim men have basically said there's no way we would vote for her under any circumstances, none whatsoever. And the Amish hate her too. There's a story right here that just broke. The hidden Amish vote in Pennsylvania could do in the Harris campaign. The religious community traditionally abstains from taking part in elections, but Republicans believe that their votes could be crucial in the U.S. presidential election.
Carroll Road.
There's going to be a whole lot of Yoders and Abes and whatever you want to call them out there. Over 100,000 have been registered. And remember, in 2016, there was 82,000 Amish voters that probably put Trump over the edge in Pennsylvania. Another reason why he won it in 2016. Now there's at least 100. Right there is 20,000 more. There's 101 or 102,000 that have been registered. So again, all good news, and we just got to find these people and make sure that that they're out there and they're voting. So, all right, I'm gonna wrap it up from here. We can sit and talk a little bit afterwards, but those are all my thoughts. Can't wait to hear all of yours. Marlene, go ahead and flip the switch when you get a chance, and we're good.